She's not even the champion. So why is everyone only asking about her? Picture this. A tournament packed with Grand Slam winners, Olympic gold medalists, and some of the biggest names women's tennis has ever produced. And yet, when the ticket office phone rings, almost nobody is asking about them. For out of every 5 calls, at least are asking the exact same question. When is Eala playing? Not Naomi Osaka. Not Venus Williams. Not the defending champion. A 21-year-old from Quezon City has quietly become the single biggest reason people are walking through the gates in Washington, D.C. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how that happened, and why what's coming next for her might be even bigger than anything you've already heard. Stick around, because this story isn't finished yet. Here's the thing about this story, it doesn't end with one big win. Keeps going. Just when you think you've seen the peak of what Eala can do, she tops it again a day later, and a week later, and a month later. There's a reason tournament organizers, sports networks, and an entire diaspora spread across the globe cannot stop talking about her right now, in real time this week. Stay with us to the end, because we're going to walk through exactly what happened on court, what was said behind the scenes, and why one comment she made into a live microphone is now being replayed and quoted everywhere. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel covers the biggest rising stories in tennis and sport before they become common knowledge, and you don't want to miss what comes after this one. A chairman's confession. Let's start with the moment that kicked off this entire conversation. The Mubadala Citi DC Open is not a small event. It's a WTA 500 tournament worth over $1.5 million in prize money, and this year's draw reads like a highlight reel of the sport, Olympic champions, former world number ones, Grand Slam winners, all in the same 32-player bracket. This is exactly the kind of event where you'd expect the biggest star power to be split evenly among a handful of famous names. Instead, tournament chairman Mark Ein stood in front of reporters this week and said something that nobody in that press room expected to hear. He told them that over the past month, his own ticketing team had noticed the same request coming in over and over. People wanted to know one thing and one thing only: when is Eala playing? He estimated that number at 80% of all inquiries. Then he added something even more striking. He suspected the real figure was actually higher, and that his staff had simply rounded it down because the true number sounded almost unbelievable. Think about that for a second. In a field stacked with players who've already lifted major trophies, the single most in-demand ticket in the building belongs to a woman who was making her very first appearance at this tournament. Who is Eala? And why is this happening right now? If you haven't been following her run this season, here's the quick version, because context matters for what's coming. Eala is a 21-year-old professional from Quezon City in the Philippines, currently sitting right around a career-high ranking in the high 20s on the WTA Tour. This wasn't a slow, decade-long climb. Her rise over the last several months has been genuinely explosive. Earlier this summer, she produced the single biggest result of her career at Wimbledon, becoming the first player from the Philippines in the Open era to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam. And she did it by beating the defending Wimbledon champion along the way, on center court, in front of a stunned crowd. Before that, she'd already picked up a WTA 125 title in Birmingham and reached the semifinals of a WTA 500 event in Berlin. This is not a lucky one-off. This is a player who has been building momentum match by match, tournament by tournament, all season long. So when tournament organizers in Washington started noticing a surge of interest around her name, they weren't imagining things. According to Ein, his staff first flagged this back in the spring, long before Eala had even set foot in the city. His team came to him and told him, in his words, that something was growing and that they needed to make sure she was part of the Washington event. Looking back now, he says bringing her to DC turned out to be one of the best decisions the tournament made all year. The match that set the city on fire. Now let's get to the match that turned a slow-building story into a full-blown phenomenon. Eala opened her tournament against Zhang Qinwen, the reigning Olympic gold medalist and a former world number 4. On paper, this was supposed to be a brutal first-round test for the Filipina. For a set and a half, it looked exactly like that. Zhang took the opening set and then broke Eala's serve to move ahead in the second, looking fully in control, hitting serve after serve past her opponent. And then, in a pattern that has now become something of a signature for her, Eala refused to fold. She broke back, found her rhythm, and reeled off game after game, eventually storming through the second set and continuing that momentum into the third to close out a 3-set win. It was Eala's first career victory over Zhang, and it happened in front of the loudest, most electric crowd the tournament had seen all week. A crowd waving Philippine flags, chanting her name, and turning what should have been a quiet early-round match into something that felt more like a home Grand Slam final. Sports reporters covering the event described the atmosphere that night as something the tournament simply hadn't experienced before. What's it like to be Filipino? Here's the moment that really made this story spread far beyond the sports pages. After the win, in her on-court interview, Eala was asked what it felt like to have so much Filipino support behind her in a city she'd never even played in before. Instead of talking about herself, she flipped the question entirely, essentially telling the interviewer that the real question worth asking wasn't about her. It was about what it means in this moment to be Filipino. It wasn't a scripted line. It wasn't a marketing moment. It was just an honest, in-the-moment reflection from someone who understood exactly what she was representing every time she stepped onto a tennis court thousands of miles from home. She's spoken openly about that responsibility before, about reminding herself before every match exactly who she's carrying with her onto that court. And the crowd felt it too. Reports from the grounds described fans lining up just to watch her practice sessions, holding up their phones, cheering for every single forehand and backhand in warm-up drills that, for almost any other player, would draw a handful of spectators at most. She wasn't done yet. If you thought the story peaked with that win over an Olympic champion, here's where it keeps going. Just one day later, Eala walked onto the court again, this time facing the tournament's own defending champion, Leylah Fernandez, in an 11 a.m. stadium match that would have tested even the most experienced competitors. And once again, she found herself in trouble. Fernandez took control of the second set, racing out to a commanding lead after cruising through the opener in Eala's favor. At one point, Eala was staring down the barrel of a third set, down badly on the scoreboard. But for the second day in a row, she dug in. She clawed back game after game, forced a tiebreak, and then blitzed through it to close out the match and eliminate the defending champion of the tournament she was playing in for the very first time. That result meant Eala had now beaten 2 defending champions in a row across 2 different tournaments in a matter of weeks. First Wimbledon's reigning champion back in July, and now the reigning DC Open champion. Reporters on site described her mentality in these matches the same way, over and over. Unshaken, composed, and somehow calmer the more pressure built around her. Why this is about more than tennis. So why does all of this matter beyond the scoreline? Because what's happening in Washington right now is bigger than one player's results. It's about identity, representation, and a community that has been waiting for a moment exactly like this one. The Filipino diaspora is enormous and spread across almost every continent, and for years, many in that community have talked about wanting a global sporting figure who represents them on the biggest stages. Someone who carries that flag not as a side note, but as the whole point. Eala has become exactly that figure almost overnight, for millions of people who have never set foot on a tennis court in their lives but now find themselves checking scores every single day. Just before this tournament, Eala posted an emotional message to her fans back home, thanking them for the support she'd received throughout her season and reflecting on what it means to represent something bigger than herself. That sentiment has followed her from Manila to Washington and beyond. And it's exactly why tournament organizers are now treating her not just as a rising player, but as a genuine draw capable of reshaping attendance numbers overnight. What happens next? As of right now, Eala has advanced to the quarterfinals of this tournament, with a spot in the Final Four on the line against a field that still includes some of the toughest competitors on tour. Every match from here only raises the stakes further, and if the pattern of this week holds, you can expect the same story to repeat itself. Another tough set, another moment where it looks like the run might end, and another comeback that leaves an entire stadium on its feet. If she keeps this level up, we are watching the early chapters of what could become one of the most significant stories in modern tennis. Not just because of ranking points or trophies, but because of what she represents to millions of people who have found, in her, a reason to fall in love with this sport for the very first time. So here's what we want to know from you. Do you think this run keeps going all the way to a title? Or does the pressure of this newfound spotlight catch up with her before the final? Drop your prediction in the comments below, and if you want to see exactly how this story unfolds, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on, because we will be covering every twist as it happens. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.